Hello, welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic, and you have me, Mark, today for our masterclass in terms of the Times Cryptic crossword. We're going to have a look at Friday's Cryptic crossword in the Times for December the 12th, which is normally the editor saves up the hardest of the week for today, and we'll see if that bears fruit. It's always a bit terrifying taking these on live, but there we go. Now, the reason you're seeing me is because Simon is having some sort of computer troubles, I think, today. And he's asked me to hold off myself and do it live. So that's why I'm here. But it gives me a brilliant chance to mention, have a look at Simon's video with Peter Svidler, because that was brilliant. That was a world champion of, well, a Russian champion of chess, who is a Russian, of course, so solving a cryptic crossword in English with minor bits of prompting and doing absolutely phenomenally. So it's a really interesting video. I mean, the puzzle in it was marvelous. No, I'm joking. It was okay, but Peter did absolutely fabulously. And if you haven't seen it already, do have a look at that. Now, other stuff that we've done this week include the GCHQ Christmas Challenge. That went up yesterday. If you haven't seen that one, it's quite entertaining. I was a little bit misled into thinking the front of the card was also part of the puzzle, but that was actually just decoration, as puzzle as decoration by the person, the school child who had won the competition to have their design featured on the front of the Year 12 card. Many congratulations to them. I was delighted they actually wrote in a comment to the video to say, "I'm the kid who designed the card. I loved seeing you do it." That's fantastic. Really enjoyed that. Now, talking of crossword videos, today on Patreon, my Times Crossword Masterclass is going up. So it'll be up there by the time you see this. And when you've watched this video, you can watch me tackling a ridiculously hard puzzle from the Times. I mean, insanely hard. The vocabulary is so esoteric that I don't know most of it. And I know that sounds very big-headed, but it is saying something. Anyway, that's on Patreon, along with our Wind in the Willows Sudoku Hunt and the other stuff that goes up there, connections videos and gridogram videos now and so forth. So do join us on Patreon. Do have a look at some of the Sudoku content if you like it. There's all our wraps, for instance, and the worms. But this is going to be me having a go at today's Times Cryptic. I believe it is by James McGaughey, who has puzzled us before. And let's call it up, number 29,411. I'll try and talk you through my solve. I'm just checking that appears for you. I think it does. And we'll start with one across, which says peripheral second function. Right, I'm glad I dwelt for a bit thinking about that. Second can often and almost always in a crossword translate to the letter S because it can be an abbreviation for second. However, that is not what it's doing in this clue. And although peripheral appears as an adjective in the surface meaning of the clue, a peripheral second function, beautifully phrased clue, by the way, the actual definitional sense of peripheral is a noun today. So I started thinking of basic peripherals that you would have with your computer, and they might include things like a printer or a microphone in our case, but of course there's also a mouse. Now, why is mouse possibly the answer to this clue? Function can be use. Remember, we're always looking for short synonyms. So function as use is possible. That would leave second to be mo. And in the standard British phrase, hang on a mo, it means a moment or a second, a brief period of time. So the answer to this is mouse. And I don't think that's what Simon's having the trouble with. Right, one down. Spymaster, that's probably M. Spymaster would like to be told false identity. Okay, that's very neatly phrased. I think the answer to this is mask. And I got that from identifying that the end of the clue that the definition would probably be in Given that Spy Master was quite likely to be M, if you know your James Bond films, the older ones, you're familiar with that. And therefore the definition, which must appear at one end of the clue, would be at the other end. False identity looked a plausible definition, and the only thing I could think of in 4 letters beginning with M is mask. Now, that leaves us with the puzzle of how would like to be told means ask. But if you think of the phrase, we would like to be told the answer to this question, we ask the answer to this question is exactly what it means. And ask goes on to M to make mask there. Right, 2 down, queen with uniform on that's dubious, decaying material. Okay, queen can be Q or QU. Most commonly it's R. It can even be ER for Elizabeth Regina. Those are the possible abbreviations that we're immediately thinking of, R being the most likely. Uniform is in the phonetic alphabet and can be the letter U. So that's dubious and decaying material. Okay, I don't think queen this time is R, ER, Q or QU. So we're thinking of an actual word for a queen. That's dubious can be one of those little, and I just said it, one of those little interjections that you use when you're doubtful about something, in this case. So the decaying material, well, some materials decay unfortunately, but some decay very naturally, and uranium is one of those. So that, if we take U for uniform and for that's dubious, then we're left with Rani, R-A-N-I for queen, and I believe that there is such a thing as an Indian female ruler called a Rani. So that gives us uranium. So I'm going to look at 3 down. Bargain for pontificate, cough up. Now, pontificate is probably how I should have read that word for the surface, being the Pope's jurisdiction. But I don't think that's what's going on. So pontificate is a more common word meaning to decide or to speak or to go on about something. And I think we could work on to cough up as the definition here. And the only word I know that is 11 letters beginning with an E for cough up is to expectorate. Expectoration is sort of violent coughing. So how does that work? Expectorate. Well, it's made up of 2 words, expect and orate. Bargain for. If you bargain for something, I didn't bargain for that, means I didn't expect that. Oh, that's beautifully phrased. Because I wasn't translating bargain as expect at all, but it's bargain for that means expect. And to pontificate is to talk learnedly about something as though you know all about it. And to orate or give an oration is to speak, certainly sort of somewhat dramatically, I think. Right, 9 across. We've got 3 of the letters in this. Mark left, is that me? After mending a bolt. No, that's not me, because I don't mend bolts. DIY, for me, is always DISE, do it someone else. Mark left after mending a bolt. Well, the only word that I can think of that fits this space and connects with any of the words in that clue is scarper, meaning to run away, or bolt. So I was thinking of sort of snapped and scalpel. They don't really relate to anything in this clue. A mark can be a scar. No, in fact, it's quite a long bit of definition of one part of the answer here. Mark left after mending. So once your wound has mended, it leaves a scar. And the mark left after mending gives a scar. And that means just this little word a means per. And if you think of the phrase, there's 12 a person, that means there's 12 per person. You can have 12 donuts a person. And don't, because that's a lot of donuts. Right, 11 across. Record played very recently with a blue note. Well, I was thinking of things beginning circum, given that I and C, because there's some long words beginning like that. But now I read record in the clue. I'm translating that, always looking for these short synonyms, I'm translating that to disc. And there are plenty of words that begin disc, and it would fit very prettily. So let's assume that we begin with disc. Played very recently. Oh, this is beautiful. With a blue note. So that's a very hard clue, I think. But I am lucky enough that I've come across this construction for this word before. So if a record is being played, it's on. It's on the turntable. The record is on. Very recently, very can translate to so, and recently can be lately. And that put together gives us disc on so lately, which is almost a phrase you could actually say. And with a blue note means with a sad note, in a disconsolate manner, disconsolately. That's a beautiful construction, but I'm lucky enough to have solved enough puzzles that I have seen disconsolate broken down before as disc on so late, and the clue made me remember that. Okay, let's have a look at 14 across. Oh, okay, snooker fans from the 1970s and 80s, are you here? Knowing Mio cracks on century, pots made with relief. There was a snooker player in that period called Tony Mio, part of the Matchroom stable. And that's who this clue is allegedly referring to. But I think we can ignore Tony Mio. We can just use the letters of Mio for something. No, I don't know what actually yet. Knowing Mio cracks on century, pots made with relief. Well, if we've got M something O, so we might want to put the E right in between them and have Mio in the answer. The only word I can think of that is definitely a word, I mean, there is mimeo, but I'm thinking of cameo. And that's relevant because a cameo is a sort of bit of pottery made with relief, as in there are bits standing up from the surface. That's cameo. So made with relief is not the sighing with, my goodness, at least I managed to do it. It's about physical relief. So I think this is cameo something. Now, I don't know what it is. So there's a word for knowing that Mio cracks goes into. Yeah, so it's on century. So it's the first C is century. Then you've got Mio going into something. And what it's cracking is a word for knowing. And these are pots made with relief. So that word must begin with an A. And I think it must end with an S because we're looking for a plural. And I don't know what it is because I was thinking of arch for knowing, but that doesn't work at all. Cameo jugs or something, or pots or pans. I don't know the answer. I think we're looking for a word for knowing that begins with an A and is 5 letters ending in an S. And it'll help us make cameo somethings. So I'm going to go on to 4 down. Notorious school, one governed under pressure, has closed early. Well, it's another bit of glorious misdirection. So just enjoy that sentence. It makes a lot of sense. And the schools are governed by school governors, and some of them are notorious for various things, and some of them come under pressure, and some of them are forced to close. So it's a beautifully worded clue. And almost nothing in the clue has got anything to do with, almost nothing in the answer has got anything to do with the apparent words in the clue. So I'm going to start with one governed. To govern something is to run it. And governed in the past tense, well, there is a past participle that would also be run, but ran is more likely. So we could put I ran into this answer. Oops, that not if we type the wrong letter. And now that fits, but we're looking for a word. We've got has closed early. We've got pressure, which can give a P. And the one governed is under the pressure, so maybe the P's at the top. And if you see that word starting, maybe you do think of a piranha. That would allow us to put HA in, which is has, if that word has been closed early, i.e. before the S got there. And why is piranha a notorious school? Because piranha can be a plural of the type of fish that is utterly famous for being dangerous to life. And a school is a group of fish. So we've got cameo something. Oh, okay. Is it cameo jars? Now, how can that work? Because I was telling you that we were looking for a word for knowing, which was going to be a something S now. But, do you know, I don't know. I don't know what is going on. I was thinking we've got something to do with a jar here, but I don't think we have. Cameo jars, is that a phrase? Pots made with relief, that's the whole definition. Mio is cracking something that means knowing. Oh, well, it doesn't end in S. There we go. So I've misled you there. I thought it was a plural. This is cameo ware. And aware is the word for knowing, which is perfectly fair. The only bit of this I think is not perfect. Well, I didn't know cameo where could be a phrase, but if I had thought it could be a phrase, I would have assumed it was all one word rather than 5, 4. So that's the bit that surprised me there. And that was difficult. Right, well done if you got there ahead of me. You may well have done that time. 5 down. Result showing discrepancy? Surely not. Beautifully worded clue again. Now, I can think of one word that fits in this space that means result. And the definition will either be result or surely not, I would think. But the result I've thought of is an outcome. But how does that relate to the rest of the clue? Showing discrepancy. If your data is out, it's got a discrepancy. So that does work. But how can come, which is a verb meaning to arrive, how can that be surely not? Oh, come now, you must understand that it could be. That's how it works, because the word come can be used as an imperative, meaning I disagree. Extraordinary. Very well done, James. That's clever. Right, 4 across. Doctor using computer for appearance's sake. Now, I don't know what this is, and well done if you do. Doctor can sometimes mean make an anagram with the next words, doctor them, mess them around, sort of adjust them. But I don't think it's doing that here. Doctor can also be abbreviated to all of GP, general practitioner, MD, the degree doctors get, MO, medical officer, or DR, the standard abbreviation for doctor. I'm going to have a break and get a drink, sorry. Sorry about that, but I know you don't want to hear me coughing. I'm probably going to give up on this clue. I haven't understood it. 4 can be pro. I was wondering about professor, but it's not quite the same as doctor, and I don't think it works. I don't know. I shall leave you with the fact that 4 could be pro. Using computer might be sort of on IT or something. I don't know what the appearance is. And is that sake or is it masquerading sake? I don't know. Let's have a look at 10 across. Rock carries with top-of-the-range audio equipment. Top of the range. A1 or something? Again, I'm struggling here. I don't know what we're looking at. Rock carries with. So maybe we put W for with into a word meaning to rock. To teeter. If a stone is teetering, it rocks. And if we put W into that, we get tweeter. Oh, which is for the high notes. Is it the tweeter? It is a sort of an amplifier or something, or some part of an amplifier that probably does the high end, and that's why it's top of the range, top of the vocal range audio equipment. Wow, that's quite clever. Right, 6 down. Feel obliged to love the times? If you are obliged to someone, or if you feel obliged to them, you owe them. O-W-E. So how can that work with love the times? Love can be O. Love represents the score 0, and that looks like an O. And traditionally in crosswords, they're effectively equatable. The Times then is we, and this is a crossword published by the Times, so it's taking a proprietorial approach and saying we are the Times. Now, 7 down. Man likely to go overboard who the Admiral has impounded. Well, Simon tells us every week that almost every one of these crosswords has a hidden in it somewhere. And well done if you spotted that that's happening here. It's clearly a very nautical surface. A man likely to go overboard who the Admiral has impounded is absolutely beautiful natural reading about a kind of sailor who's planning to jump being locked up. The clue's got nothing to do with that. Likely to go overboard in this case means impulsive and hot-headed. And the man who's likely to go overboard is therefore a hothead. And if you look at the phrase who the Admiral, you will see that impounded within that is hothead, which is the answer to the clue. I'm going to have a look at 8 down. I don't know whether to go back to 4 across first, but let's have a look at 8 down. Do attendees stay with groper on the loose? Question mark. Quite worrying phrase, but let's not worry about the actual meanings of the words. I'm sure groper won't mean somebody groping in this clue. A do, that can be a party. We had a bit of a do, and every year we have a magpie do that the subscribers can come to. So I'm thinking, given the R and the Y that we have in the grid, that this could begin party. In fact, do attendees, are they party goers? They are. And why am I liking party goers now? Because if I use the letters in the word stay and the letters in the word groper, which I didn't want to interpret for its meaning but wanted to use for its letters, and it looks like I get to. If we assume that the letters of stay and the letters of groper are on the loose, they might reform into party goers, and they are do attendees. Right, well, I can think of a word that fits 4 across, and if you can, excellent. Let's try and tie it to the word play that must appear in this clue. The word I can think of is Photoshop, and to doctor a photo using the computer is to Photoshop it, or to doctor anything is to Photoshop it. For appearance's sake, well, I think this is just that rare beast, a cryptic definition. Unless I'm missing the point, and I do sometimes attribute a clue to being a cryptic definition when there's some wordplay concealed in it. But you are allowed, if the circumstances in which a good cryptic crossword can use a clue that is just a cryptic definition, is just hiding what it really means, is when the person who reads the clue doesn't for a second think that we are using the literal definition. And I think this just about works. So doctor using computer for appearance's sake, I'm thinking of a physician in his office pretending to use his computer because he doesn't really use it, and it's just for appearance's sake. And that is certainly what I thought that clue meant. But what it actually means is to change the appearance of something with a computer. And that's all it means. It's beautifully phrased. James really is getting absolutely elegant with these clues today. Right, 15 across. Exhibition with animals was mounted close to zoo. Now, I pronounced close as close there. but you might want to pronounce it as close to understand how to parse this clue. Exhibition with animals, well, you may think of rodeo at 15 across, especially if this crossword isn't your first rodeo. And was mounted can mean rode. If you were mounted on a horse, you rode it. Close to zoo, or rather close to zoo, is the closing letter of zoo, the letter O. And there we go. Let's have a look at the next 5-letter word. Lost articles, including Eliot's earliest letters. Again, beautiful phrasing. The enumeration helps us, a phrase of 2 followed by 3 letters. The A in the grid might help us, but the word lost is the definition here. The articles, an article in English is a, an, or the. Basically, they're the only ones. And therefore, A is an article. 2 of them would be AA. And if we include the earliest letters from T.S. Eliot's names, Thomas Stearns Eliot, his early letters in each word were T, S, and E. That was his monogram. And that goes into AA and becomes at sea, which means lost. Okay, let's have a look at 13 down. Something C, something A. I'm not looking at the clue. I'm guessing this is going to begin S-C-R-A, but it could begin ocean or something. Okay, well, that was prescient. Facing the Pacific. Perhaps on craft, one customized, misread that, sorry. Perhaps on craft, one customized. Facing the Pacific, so I do like this ocean. I was thinking ocean going, is that like you had party goers earlier, ocean going, but no, because we have to customize the phrase on craft one. We have to use the letters of that, and that will give us ocean front. If I type the right letters, it will. And if an oceanfront property might be facing the Pacific, perhaps, which is the definition. Okay, let's have a look at the long 21 across, 5, 9. Unlikely to go up if nothing but Jack Daniels in apartment. I love the surface there. I'm not likely to go up to my apartment if there's only Jack Daniels there. I'm actually quite likely to go up to it if there's only Jack Daniels there, but that's a matter of taste. Now, unlikely to go up. Let's reinterpret that. If we're not talking about physically going upstairs, what could that mean? Well, it might mean to burst into flame. Unlikely to burst into flame. So I'm thinking of something like flame, not proof, flame resistant maybe. There are other adjectives possible, but resistant would be the right number of letters. So I'm going to now try and see if I can make if nothing but Jack Daniels in apartment, give wordplay for something like that. Right, apartment is a flat. So we can put FLA at the beginning and our T at the end. Then we've got left mere cis-tan, if resistant is right. Nothing but is mere. So that's good. Flame re something ant. I think we can be, oh no, flame re something ending in T. That's what we've done so far. We've put mere into flat, but there's more to go into the flat. There's Jack Daniels, and cis-tan doesn't work. Okay, so there is another word, another phrase I've thought of, which is flame retardant. How is Jack Daniels tar Dan? Well, Daniel can be Dan, and tar can be Jack, because they're both words for a sailor. That's beautiful. I am left wondering whether in the product Jack Daniels, does the apostrophe come in a different place? I admit, I did not think about that. I presume that the whiskey maker had a surname of Daniels rather than Daniel, but I don't know. And if that is the correct place for the apostrophe in Jack Daniels, then the clue's even better. But it's fine even if it's not, because it didn't have to mean the whiskey. It could mean that a man called Jack Daniel is in the apartment. Anyway, that's amused me a lot. I really enjoyed that. Let's have a look at 17 down. take people into Santa's workforce to the north. Well, surely Santa's workforce is elves. How could you describe his workforce in any other way? Reindeer, I suppose, they're part of Santa's workforce. But if we have elves and we put it to the north, that's going to give us SEVLE. I want this to be in the answer, but I'm not sure I can see how that works. So I have missed the point here. Is there any chance that we have got another hidden? Are we using the phrase? No, I don't know what's going on. Who else is in Santa's workforce? Take people, that could be men. Take can even be the letter R from prescriptions. I don't know the answer here. That's fooled me quite badly. And I'm feeling silly because I was so sure that the elves were going to be involved, but they've been naughty and hidden. Right, 23 across. Unexpected stress, exchanging pound on holiday. Again, utterly beautiful surface reading. Just the most natural sounding sentence or description you could ever hear. And yet, obviously going to be nothing to do with the answer. So unexpected stress, I'm thinking about poetry and stuff. But, no, how about if you overtax someone? Are you giving them unexpected stress? I don't know, do you know? I don't know what's going on here again. So on holiday could be away, or I think unexpected is the definition, or perhaps unexpected stress. But if unexpected is the definition, then the word stress might be exchanging its pound. I don't quite know what that means. Quid versus L? No. I'm going to try 26 across, which is 6-3 with a hyphen in this time. Pontoon moved over there in case of tide. Well, I was mentioning on a connections video recently that the category was going to include the word blackjack. But in Britain, we very rarely, or only if you go to a casino, do you call the game blackjack. The most normal name for that game is pontoon. But there is another name, which is 21 or 21. And therefore, if pontoon can translate to 21, I think that's what it's going to be doing here. So, pontoon is the definition. Moved over there, went yon. Oh, that's beautiful. In case of tide. Right, the case of tide. The bit that encases it is the outer letters, T and E. So went yon is going into the case of tide and giving us 21. And that E isn't going to help me very much with Santa's workforce. Let's try this T in 24 down. American scarf, warm, but not hot. Okay, so to warm something is to heat it. But H can stand for hot, like on a tap. So if we take the word heat, but not the letter H, we have the word eat. Why would that be American scarf? I think the implication is that an American might use the phrase to scarf something, meaning to eat it. But I would have said that's part of British slang now too. But there we go. Presumably the dictionary says it's American, or especially American. 18 down. Lively teams run out. Great player. What a beautiful phrase. While we're in the midst of the ashes, and they're still just alive. But let's use that word lively. That looks like an anagram indicator to me. What can we anagram here? We need 7 letters. Team is 4, teams is 5. But run out, that's another cricket term that can be abbreviated, and RO is its abbreviation. So that would give us maestro, a great player, not of spin or seam, but of music. Beautiful. Right, so let's go back and try and tidy up this corner. 23 across. Unexpected stress. Exchanging pound on holiday. Okay, I've thought of a word that fits, and I guess it means unexpected stress. I was thinking of overeat, but we've had eat just going down there. That's a bit unlikely. But that doesn't work. Offbeat fits, and I presume that in music, which I am not a true proficient in, an offbeat is a stress falling in an unexpected place. So if we assume that offbeat, I mean, it's normally used as an adjective, but if we presume that it's a noun that in music means an unexpected stress, then we need to try and work out why exchanging pound on holiday is offbeat. And yes, so if what a bobby does, a copper, a policeman, is to pound the beat. And I think, therefore, beat can translate as pound. On holiday can translate as off. I'm off next week. And then that would, pound on holiday would give us the phrase or the words beat off. But if we exchange them round, we get offbeat. And that's how this clue works. And that is one of the most perfect clues I've seen. Nothing in it is what you really expect it to mean. The phrasing is perfect for a scenario that has got nothing to do with the answer. And it's just beautiful to me. Right, 17 across. Snaffle would fit. And that does mean to take. If you take something, you snaffle it. Ah, what's the workforce then? It's elf fans going north. Oh, elf fans are not Santa's workforce. They're people who are into Santa's workforce. The people who really like elves are elf fans. And that's running up the grid northwards and giving a snaffle running down it. What a lovely idea. I think this crossword is a masterpiece. I really do. Right, 19 down. Tramp eats mostly ripe bananas. Again, look at the phrasing of that. That is a perfectly worded clue. I bet we have nothing to do with a tramp or actual bananas in the answer. I don't know what the answer is. So, ripe, mostly ripe. Okay, bananas can mean do an anagram. So if we use the letters of eats and most of the letters of ripe, and there is an alternative, it could be mostly the letters of eats and all the letters of ripe. So we could be anagramming EATRIPE, or we could be anagramming EATSRIP. And if this hypothesis is right, we're looking for a word meaning tramps. And my answer to this clue then is trapes. Sorry, I said tramps, which was a hint. I should have said tramp. And to tramp around or to traipse around have the same meaning. That's brilliantly worded again. Right, 18 down. Driver, 18 across, I do apologise. Driver toying with limits of Audi TT Vroom. Right, well surely Vroom is not doing anything other than supplying its letters. And the same is almost certainly true of TT. So I'm looking at these letters I've got in the grid and wanting to put the letters of Vroom and TT into the answer. And I'm coming up with motivator. And of course that's a driver in the sense of someone who drives things, drives people particularly. And we're toying with or playing around with anagramming the limits of Audi, which are the A and the I, and the letters of TT, Vroom. And we're getting Mr. Motivator. Right, 12 down. Roman later achieved success thanks to Parisians spending millions. Again, beautifully worded. The clue, the letters in the answer are really giving me a big head start on this, but a Roman is an Italian, obviously, someone from Rome. I don't think we need to look into ancient history this time. And the phrase that a Roman uses, that an Italian uses, that fits here, that I can think of, and is also therefore in the English language, is arrivederci. And of course, later is one way of saying goodbye, as is arrivederci. So Roman later is extraordinarily the definition here. And then achieved success is arrived. Merci is thanks for a Parisian person. I'm going to have to take another coughing break, sorry. So, merci is dispensing or spending, dispensing with or spending its millions, the letter M, and we've got arrived merci, losing the M, becoming arrivederci, and that is the Roman for later, of course. Right, let's have a look at 27 across, beginning with an I. Pass on popular music. Popular can be in the sense of fashionable. Pass on that. Or do we put a word for pass on in and get music? Or do we put music, a three-letter word for music after popular and get something that means pass on? I think in this case, pass is used in its euphemistic sense, meaning to die. If somebody has died, they have passed. And if we put die on in, we get indie, which is one type of music, or indeed movies, or indeed other forms of culture. Let's have a look at 20 down. Thieves opening hardened safe in university office. Well, catch him. Thief's opening is the letter T, so that's got to be good. Hardened can be inured, which I would spell with an I, but I'm guessing from the definition here that there must be a variant spelling of inure that uses an E, because I think the answer is tenured, and you can forget all about the safe that the thief was cracking in the university office. Safe in your university office or position means you're tenured. Something I really only know from seeing Ross in Friends get tenured. Right, 25 across. Present red wine, usually after you've finished eating fish. Oh no, present red wine, usually after you've finished eating fish. And it's definitely right to pronounce present as present, because it works that way both in the surface and in the definition of this answer. The red wine we're involved with here is port, although I had some very nice white port yesterday, funnily enough. Usually after you've finished... Oh, it's red wine usually after you've finished eating. It's a 7-word definition of port there. That's beautiful, because it's a dessert wine or a postprandial, which was when I was having it. The fish is a ray, like a manta ray, and portray is to present something. Right, a little butchery business from behind cowshed. Beautiful phrasing again, suggesting an informal abattoir on the farm, which is shocking in a way. But I think all we're looking at here is another hidden. We need a little of the phrase butchery business, but we need to look at it from behind, from the back end. And given the Y and the E that we have in the grid, you can see B-Y-R-E is written backwards inside butchery business. Now that spells buyer, and it's not impossible you don't know the word buyer, but it can mean a cowshed or a place where you keep cows on a farm. And I think that is the solution to the puzzle. That's what I'm going to submit. Let's see if we get marked correct. It's an absolutely beautiful puzzle in every respect. Every single clue is so crafted there. As somebody who's written clues occasionally in my life, I can tell you that took James a very long time to get those clues to be that perfectly readable as sentences, many of which seem to have nothing to do with any of the words we ended up using in the answers. It's really, really elegant, and I'm delighted to have had the chance to talk you through that today. Now, I'm pretty sure that Simon normally takes us into the quick cryptic and has a speed run at that. So that's what I'm going to do next. Let's have a look at today's quick cryptic. First one is an anagram of past ethos, post haste. Dad's attempt, I don't know. Oh, it could be P-A-S, not sure. Model, right to abandon writing. That's prose without the R. Dog's range, that is large. Span, I-E for that is. L for large. Haunt on a regular basis gives hut as a dwelling. Put street on list for work. Roll is a list, a roll call of names. Broadcast frightens cat, that's a hidden. Scatter. Load, vehicle and leave. Car and go. Make 2 and 2 5. It's an anagram and it's miscalculate. Call it a sum, bizarrely. Very clever. Right, 5 down. Inspire. Encourage. Yes. Group of followers is entourage. We're swapping the T for a C. Jacket of expected standard. OK, essentially. Par and the middle letters of OK. Spacecraft 1 in landing place. We put an R1 into the word peer. Dad's attempt, he's having a pop. 12 across. Regretting, ruing, welcoming learner is L. Smart agent writing paper after returning. Not sure what that is. Dapper, yes it is. Rep and pad all backwards. 11 down. Agreement, there must be consensus, mustn't it? Yeah, census including initial letters. Seeking major changes. Ooh. Radical, probably. Type of tyre is radial, and costs initially gives us the C being absorbed. Accurate summary, English, précis and E gives us precise. Need this read, novel, so that's an anagram. Down, it's a bit like disconsolately in the other puzzle. Disheartened, oops, disheartened in this puzzle. Confusion is chaos, as cash out of order with anagram of cash with O in it. Most important, archive, part of tree, record, double definition of log, anagram of parade, he's, gives us spearhead, just got a few downs to do. Grease sounds like that. Informed about sang, as in police informers, take notice of which 3 were ahead in the end. That's the last letters of 4 words there. Copper, right, Cu, the chemical, and there we go. That is a quick speed run, 2 minutes 44 for our quick cryptic today. Some people will have beaten that by some time, I imagine. Yeah, there's John McCabe at 2:04. Jason's definitely genuine at 2:18, and Andy Fisher and Verlaine. Well done to them. Well, I mean, I think everybody after number 4 is genuine, and that is very impressive. John McCabe also, but there we go. Well done to those people with those times. I didn't check who had solved the main puzzle, so if I go back to that, we should have a look at that. Here they are. Now, Jason solved it in 6 minutes and 7 seconds. John McCabe 6:24 and Verlaine 7:32. Those are the fastest genuines there, and they're pretty quick. They also indicate that despite the beauty of those clues, they weren't actually the hardest Friday we've had on record, because these guys would be taking 10 minutes then, and they're firing it out in under 7.5, which is very impressive indeed. That's intriguing, because certainly some of those were key. The snaffle, that might be my clue of the day. The elf fans, people into Santa's workforce. That's just beautiful phrasing. Brilliant, brilliant. Take people into Santa's workforce to the north. That could be my clue of the month. That is fantastic. Anyway, thank you so much for... Oh, should I have gone into Chambers to check anything here? Because I do have the facility. I could have done that. I don't think we need to, do we? I don't think anything really needed looking up there, so that's good. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sure Simon will be back doing next week's masterclass, but it's an absolute pleasure to be with you. As I say, check out his video with Peter Svidler. That is fantastic. Or my super hard crossword video on Patreon today. Thank you for being with us, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.